And we're back again for another post-match show. If you happen to have missed it, unfortunately, our good run of form seems to have come to an end with a 2-1 defeat to Liverpool. Not all that surprising, but in the course of the game, it's a little disappointing. As always, I'm Chris, and as always as well, I am joined by Irish Tommy. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad. It's just what's the right word? Just very kind of blah.
Yeah,
Having
yeah.
watched that, it was just to be honest, Chris. I'm really glad that that game's out of the way. It was a very long 90 minutes for me. I just found the entire thing wholly uninspiring.
See, it wasn't even a long 90 minutes. I think it was a long 45. The second half, you knew something was coming. You wanted it to change, or like you wanted us to be able to hit him on the counter or something, catch him out. But at second half, I have it like in my notes that I usually write. That was probably the worst second half of the season, in my opinion. I mean, there was just nothing there. I'd like to know the possession stats in the second half. It felt like they had 80-90% of the possession.
Yeah, and that's basically what I'm talking about. Yes, I found the whole 90 minutes uninspiring, but you're right. The second half was definitely worse than the first. Um, and like I say, we basically just spent, especially the second half, the entire time just defending, hanging on grimly in our David Moyes way for a 1-1, just trying not to lose it. Um, we had a moment here and there when we were able to get the ball forward when we thought maybe something would happen, but nothing ever came of it. Um,
Yeah,
and really, it was just a typical David Moyes approach to the game, unfortunately. And like you say, it's just completely uninspiring. There's nothing really I can take from it because we didn't get anything from the game. At least if we'd have held out somehow for a 1-1, I could say, right, well, at least we got something from it. But the fact that we took that approach and lost just means that I'm glad that that's out of the way. It's 90 minutes of my life I'm never getting back. Uh, and I'm just thankful now that those tough, hard games are out of the way, and we can hopefully see something much better to watch against Fulham.
yeah, that's one thing for me. Like, if there is one positive, if you can call it, takeaway, is that we're through our tough stretch. Now the schedule begins to open up a little bit more. We're in a much better place than we thought we would be after these first 7. So all in all, I'm very happy with. I guess I can say I'm fairly, if not very happy with the first 7. Yes, this was disappointing, but at the same time, it's Liverpool. So I mean, it was kind of to be expected, at least a route.
Yeah, look, I mean, we know they're an absolutely quality side. We knew they would have most of the ball. We knew we'd have to do quite a lot of defending. The problem I have is again with David Moyes' inability to change things. Yep. Or the inability or the flat out unwillingness to change it. And I think it's just because he's David Moyes and this is just how he thinks. Yeah. Because here's the way I would have viewed it. At halftime, I would have said, okay, this is not a game that suits Haller whatsoever. He's a passenger. We're not able to get any decent ball up to him. There's really nothing for Haller to work off of. And he's a passenger in this game. This is not a game that suits him. So at halftime, I would have put Yarmolenko on in his place. So that would have been one sub done right at halftime. Not necessarily a fault of Haller, and I'll explain because I know this is a kind of hot topic at the minute. The pro and anti-Haller kind of split of the fan base. I'm not saying this because of Haller himself. I think Haller will have a lot more joy against Fulham, and I think that game will suit Haller a lot better because we'll have much more of the ball. We'll be able to bring the ball up the field, pin Fulham in a lot more than we were with the likes of City or Liverpool tonight. We'll be able to get much more ball into him, much better support up to him. So that will suit Heller. Heller could go crazy against Fulham, score 2-3 goals, no problem. But tonight was not a game, clearly, that Heller was going to be anything more than a passenger, just because of the way the game was playing out. So I'd have taken him off at halftime, put Yarmolenko up there. And at the point where actually Klopp was starting to make his move, where he was saying, right, I'm going to bring on Xherdan Shaqiri and Diogo Jota to try and win this game for us, I would have been thinking, all right, okay, I'm going to play my hand now as well. I'm going to see if I can bring people on now that maybe can go and win it for us. If you want to commit that many players, attacking players, to winning the game, I'm going to see if I can hurt you now for over-committing to winning the game. So that's the point, 70-odd minutes, I would have sprung Lanzini and Benrahma off the bench for Fornells and Bowen, respectively. And I was saying, okay, when we do win the ball, now we've got players up there with a little bit about them, who've got skill and a bit of pace, who might be able to actually put a really good move together and hurt you. Unfortunately, David Moyes is our manager, and that never, ever once entered his mind.
Yeah,
he brought Benrahma and Lanzini on in the 89th minute. It's like, what's the fucking point? You may as well have just not bothered. Because, you know, once again, and we've said this many times in the past, Chris, once again, it's the opposition manager who's made the moves to try and turn the game, while our manager stands idly by and watches them do it.
Yep.
And this is the thing that drives me absolutely crazy about David Moyes. His lack of ability to change a game and to do what I think most fans thought this was kind of. Listen, I'm not some footballing tactical genius saying this. I mean, this is fans all over the world, West Ham fans watching that game, were thinking the same thing. Get Benrahma and Lanzini on it. Let's hurt, if they want to bring on the likes of Jota and Shaqiri and really go for it and have that many players in attack, then let's see if we can punish them for it.
Yeah.
But it just never enters David Moyes' mind. I can't even remember what minute Yarmolenko came on. It was 70-something. I mean, he didn't even have a whole lot of time to actually do much. So I'd have had him on at half-time. So, you know, once again, unfortunately, because of David Moyes, it's just, we were just pinned back in our own half with really no ability whatsoever to threaten Liverpool on the counter. They felt comfortable enough to have their centre-backs in our half. You know, and
brought on in the 74th minute.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 15-odd minutes, 20 if you include injury time to affect the game. Difficult.
Yeah.
But, you know, on his own difficult because there wasn't much ball coming out, which is why you need the likes of Lanzini and Benrahma who can actually carry the ball out. So just incredibly frustrated. We've lost the game, and it's just been completely and utterly uninspiring stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how I can add to that. It, like what you had said as well, it just doesn't make sense to bring on anybody in the 89th minute. I mean, regardless if you have 5 minutes of added time or a minute, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't give them enough time to potentially impact the game. It baffles me that we're still unable or unwilling to learn how to properly make substitutions. And that really so far this season has been my only critique with David Moyes. But I mean, it's obviously pretty damn big. I mean, a game like that, it easily cost us.
Yeah, I mean, look, he did the same thing tonight, essentially, that he did against City. Okay, it was just, look, let's hang on grimly.
Yeah.
Let's get everyone behind the ball, defend as deep as possible, and cross our fingers that we can keep them out.
Yeah.
For the entire kind of 45 minutes, right? So It was the same second half against City. Now, City squandered some very good opportunities. We got a little bit lucky at times against City.
And they got a
You
little
know,
times against us in the first with that penalty.
yeah. So that's really what he does. Like, and the writing kind of always felt like it was on the wall. Like it's only a matter of time. Liverpool are going to find a way through.
Yeah.
And very likely going to find a way through and score. David Moyes is banking on the smaller percentage that somehow they won't. That we'll get away with it. That, you know, they'll fluff the shot, or Fabianski will make a brilliant save, or there'll be an offside that will save us, or, you know, something goes against Liverpool like it did for the first goal that was ruled out, Jota's first goal that was ruled out. So he's kind of rolling the dice when the odds are not in our favour, but he's still rolling the dice in the hope that it will come up for us. Whereas, now look, I understand Liverpool are a far superior team to us, and we know they're going to have more of the ball. We know we're going to have to do a certain amount of defending. But to not change it up at the right time, where we can actually potentially score ourselves and punish them, you know, for their overcommitment to try and find a winner.
Yeah.
It's just depressing, to be quite honest, Chris.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree. Like I was saying, like with regards to how it felt with the possession, I want to rattle off some stats to you actually. And this also helps talk or bring one of my talking points. In terms of the possession, Liverpool held the ball 73% of the time. They made 825 passes compared to our 304, with Liverpool having a pass accuracy of 88% compared to our 69%. That was one of my points that I have written down as well, that I don't think I've seen a match from us this season with that poor of passing. Like, it was sloppy all over the place by everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the reason for that again has to come down to Moyes. You know, he made the change far too late in getting Haller off the pitch. The reason we can't keep the ball is because we were finding it difficult to carry the ball out, and we were just hoofing a lot of ball up the pitch, hoping Haller could somehow get in the end of it and hold it up. That wasn't working. So Liverpool almost all the time were just getting the ball straight back. So, yeah, of course they had those stats in their favour. David Moyes, like I said, could have done things to relieve that. You know, he could have brought players like Lanzini and Benrahma on who actually can carry the ball. You can pop a pass out to them, and they can turn and they can go past a player and open the game up for us a bit, get us up the field. And for some reason, Moyes just stood on the sideline and watched the ball being pumped up to Haller time and again, whose movement is about as good as the statue of David. And he just stood on the sideline watching this happen for 74 minutes without changing it, and it just put our defense under an unbelievable amount of pressure. And let's be honest, the second half we were at times hanging on grimly because we had no outlet whatsoever. And yet Moyes just stood there watching this happen. It's probably the thing that most drives me crazy about David Moyes is his just inability to see these things and to think, okay, I need to change this up here. I need to relieve the pressure, at least to some degree, by getting players on the pitch now who can do things a little differently for us and carry the ball out from the back and from our own half and get the ball up the field, just with their ability to carry the ball at their feet. So I'll tell you, Chris, I'm very, very relieved now that we're moving on.
It feels like the pressure is off a little bit now. I mean, I think it started to feel that way with the performances against Wolves and Leicester especially. But now that we're through these 7, we can hope to look forward to a much easier run of games, better run of form, picking up points. but there's still for me some question marks. I'm not. I think the formation is perfect. I think that the big question for me is how long is Antonio out? Because unfortunately, Allaire for me, the true test will be against Fulham. I don't think anyone really expected him to excel against Liverpool. We wanted something, but he just did not impress whatsoever. If he can go out and play well against Fulham, okay, fair play. But if he plays like that against Fulham, I don't see how you can really defend him all that much.
Oh no, it would be impossible. Like I say, you can make an excuse for him tonight, and I have already on this show. And like I say, Haller was not suited to this game whatsoever, because of the type of player he is. So, like you say, against Fulham next week, I think he will have a much better opportunity to shine.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you, I mean, if he falls flat on his face against Fulham and brings nothing to the game, yeah, then I think at that point that would tip me over the edge with Haller, and at that point I would be thinking, okay, what actually does he offer at all at any time? And I would be thinking, okay, listen, we cannot play him anymore.
Yeah. Again, I think the next few weeks is going to be, if Allaire can't step up against Fulham, I think the biggest question we're going to have is how long is Antonio out? When can we get him back? That's going to be, I mean, that's a huge question right now, but considering that Antonio is at this stage first choice over Allaire, hands down. Even if Allaire was to go out and get a hat trick against Fulham, I still say that. But it's he's getting to the nitty gritty. He's getting to his last strings in terms of chances, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There's no question. It's clear that Moyes is far from convinced with Haller, and put him in tonight to say, okay, show us, what you can bring to the team in a difficult game away at Anfield against the champions. Unfortunately, tonight, the answer was nothing.
Yeah.
He is. I can't remember ever seeing a player as immobile as him. I mean, it's actually quite shocking how little movement he gives to the team. I mean, all I saw from him all evening was him just wandering over and back around the halfway line. There was one ball that was played diagonally in his direction across the pitch, like in the air. I mean, this ball was hanging in the air for ages. And when the ball came down, I think it was Joe Gomez who was under it, the Liverpool centre-back, and Haller was 5 yards behind him. The ball was hanging in the air, and he still wasn't under it, challenging Gomez when it came down. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm sorry, you can make excuses for certain things, but not for that.
Yeah.
He could have come from 30 yards away to challenge for that. And he wasn't even near that far away when the ball was kicked. And literally Gomez stood underneath the ball waiting for it to come down and headed it clear with Haller 5 yards behind him. I'm sorry, that is not even close to good enough.
No.
I don't care if it's a difficult game. I don't care if you're not seeing much of the ball. You can't just saunter around the halfway line expecting every ball to be played directly up to you, or some perfect ball that's only for you. If you can't run 10 yards to a ball that's hanging in the air and challenge for it, you know how that shit drives me crazy. It's one of the reasons that I couldn't stand Anderson and couldn't wait to get him out of the club, and was done with Anderson early this year, is because of that, just that lack of effort and commitment. And it's the same thing with Haller, and it's driving me crazy. And frankly, if Moyes decided not to start him against Fulham, I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big question in the next week too. Was this a precautionary sub for Antonio? Will he be good to go in a week, or is he out for a bit of a longer period of time? That's my big concern right now.
Yeah, we don't have a definitive answer to that.
Yeah, that's
there's mixed reports. There's mixed reports, but clearly we know now he is injured. So we probably are looking at 4 to 6 weeks from probably last week. So another 3 to 5 weeks, I think. But there is an international break in between, which helps. So he won't miss as many games as he might have. But frankly, I think if Haller starts against Fulham next week, it's genuinely last chance saloon for Haller next week.
Yeah, he doesn't even necessarily to score next week for me, as long as he puts in an effort or contributes in some way. But today, he did not. I do want to move on though off of Allaire. I want to talk about Masuaku and Fornals. We can kind of lump them in together. For me, Fornals, my reaction to him that today was just up and down. Obviously, the goal. I don't know. When I was watching that live, I had no idea how that went in. I thought that was going to be an easy save for Allison. I don't know how that snuck in. But
I've no idea. I was thinking the same thing when he hit it. It looked like he kind of scuffed it a bit. There was no power behind it, and I thought Allison was just going to dive to his right and get both hands on it and clutch it, and no problem. And next goal, and I was like, oh, it caught me completely by surprise. I didn't think that was going in, but thankfully it did. And what a start to the game! Was it the 11th minute or something like that? And I was like, holy shit, we're 1-0 up at Liverpool. I thought, Jesus, maybe this is on now. But unfortunately wasn't to be. But we did have a couple of other moments where we could have scored. And it involves Fornals again, yeah.
Because that for me, that was the only real positive contribution he had. That he could have played it to Bowen once. He tried to poke it out, and he should have let it roll to Bowen. It was just oof.
Well, it was fine. He took the touch and he had control of it, and he had Bowen, spinning around off his shoulder, and he was in. There was no one near Bowen. All he had to do was slip the ball into Bowen, and he was shooting from about 10 yards. And Bowen is such a good finisher, and from that position, you'd really fancy him to put us 2-1 up. Unfortunately, Fornals made a horrible decision and decided to shoot, and it was blocked down because there was a defender right in front of him. Both defenders had actually been drawn to Fornals, and they got a block on it. And oh man, I was absolutely seething with Fornals that he didn't slip Bowen in, because I mean, if we go 2-1 up at that point, we get something from the game.
Yeah.
If not the win, we certainly get a draw from it. And it's another game unbeaten. So that was a horrible decision, because, as again, I have to come back to Moyes, I'm sorry, but the way he set us up to play today, Moyes was banking on our defence keeping Liverpool out, or keeping them to 1 goal, 2 max, which we did, and then hoping that whatever chances fell our way, that we took them all. We took 1. The other real great chance we had, unfortunately, Fornals fluffed it.
Yeah, that's why I kind of say that I was very mixed with regards to my reaction on Fornals today. Obviously, good goal. I mean, you can't. Like we were talking about, we don't know. I don't know how it went in, but a goal's a goal. But other than that, I did not necessarily like. I don't think it was impressive performance overall from him today.
No, because, well, again, see, this is why I'd have hauled him off after 70 minutes. he worked his ass off. I love Pablo Fornals. I really do. He works his tail off for the team, and he did that again tonight. But because he doesn't really have any pace, it's in a game like that where we're completely penned in, and he's back there helping out the defense, which is his job. He's been told, obviously, look, you have to go back and help out the defense and become another defender in front of the box. And he did that industriously, as always. God bless him. But he doesn't have the pace to carry the ball out when he does get it. So he's too quickly closed down. For other players overrun him, force him back. So that's why after 70 minutes you go, okay, great job, Pablo. Scored a goal, worked really hard. Now we need to get someone on here who actually, when they do get the ball, can carry it out and go past someone and open the game up. Pablo, unfortunately, couldn't do that. So that's why in the second half, when we were really penned in, you didn't really see him, well, hardly ever, as any kind of attacking threat, apart from that one opportunity where his shot was blocked. But other than that, he carried no threat second half because he just can't bring the ball out in those situations. So, but again, Moyes has to take his share of the blame. We all know that. So just get Benrahma in there and let him do it. He'll carry the ball out.
Yeah. And then I want to talk about Masuaku as well, just because we have to talk about that penalty. I want to get your thoughts on it. Was it a penalty or wasn't it?
I don't think so. Silly challenge, but for me, here's the deal. Look, contact does not equal penalty. It just doesn't.
No.
And unfortunately, at the moment, the way the game is going, it's being refereed as if contact equals penalty, which to me is sickening. It's still a contact sport, for Christ's sake. You're going to get contacted by opponents. And just because you've been contacted does not mean that it's a penalty, right? So, I can't remember the referee's name. There's a former referee. He's on, I think, BT Sport. Now, I know the game tonight was on Sky, but he's on BT Sport. Whenever they have these incidents with the VARs and the decisions that are any bit controversial or big game-defining moments, they get him in and they get him to explain it from his point of view as a former ref, right decision, wrong decision, and why. And the amount of times I've heard him say, another former ref say, when they're explaining away why someone didn't get a penalty, they always say, yes, there's contact, but the question is, was that contact enough to bring the player down? And he explains away penalties that were not given rightly by saying, well, the contact wasn't enough to bring the player down, therefore, no, you can't give a penalty. And that falls into that bracket tonight for me. Did Masuaku give him a little tap on the sole of his boot? Yes. Was it silly to stick a foot in? Yes. But does that mean it was a penalty? No. Mo Salah felt the contact on the sole of his foot, dropped to the ground like a sack of spuds, rolled around, gave a big scream, and penalty given. I'm sorry. That is not a penalty. Just because Mo Salah, listen, this is Mo Salah all over. Mo Salah will go down in the box if you breathe on his neck.
Yep.
And he'll roll around holding his neck screaming.
I think
it's sickening to me that officials can be bought that easily by Mo Salah and others like him. Bruno Fernandes has a habit of it as well, frankly. And players that just feel a little contact, go down screaming, holding onto their foot or their shin, screaming like they've just been hacked.
Yeah.
That's not a penalty, and it should not have been given. And even like in the VAR room, they're looking at a replay. If I'm a VAR official looking at that, I'm saying, hang on a fucking second here. There's no way that contact brought Mo Salah to the ground. No way. Yeah. And I'd be getting on to the referee and I'd be saying, look, go and take a look at that, will you? There's a bit of contact on the sole of the foot. But we don't see how that's brought him down. And let the ref go and look at it. But this is Liverpool at Anfield, so the VAR probably looked at it and said, yeah, touched him, so fuck it, penalty.
Yeah, well, And to be honest, we're not saying that West Ham players aren't guilty of this as well. Of just being breathed upon and going down super easily.
We wouldn't get it.
No, I hate it overall. But
if that's at the other end, Chris, let's be honest. If that's at the other end and it's Bowen being challenged by Joe Gomez, referee will wave play on. I can guarantee you. That was an Anfield decision. End of story. Even in the VAR room at Stockley Park, they looked at those replays and made an Anfield decision.
I think another thing that doesn't help the scenario too is the way Masuaku immediately looked over at the referee, almost immediately trying to plead his case. If he would have just kept playing on, might have been different.
Definitely Masuaku's reaction didn't help. I don't know what he was doing. He just stopped dead. I mean, I just get back on the ball, carry the ball out, continue playing. I'd even gesture back at Mo Salah to get up. Get the fuck up. Do you know what I mean? I'd be trying to convince the ref, look, he's taking a fucking dive. Play on. Yeah, so Masuaku's reaction did not help his cause. And the other thing is really because it was very, very silly of Masuaku to give the referee a decision to make. There should have been no decision to make. You know what Mo Salah's like. You've got him in a good position. Okay, he's got the ball ahead of you, but you're goal side of him. He's facing away for goal. You just stand him up. Stand him up, stay goal side of him, force him further out the pitch. He'll try his little tricks and turns. You just stand him up, stay with him, force him to pass the ball or force him away from goal. There's no particular danger there in that moment.
No.
Absolutely no need to make any kind of challenge. But look, we know Masuaku defensively has always been a liability.
Yeah. And I agree with you there, but I mean, it just everything didn't go well. The one thing though that I was surprised about today was the VAR challenge actually going our way. I was very surprised by that. I thought we were going to get shafted on that one, but I think correctly it was not a goal. It wasn't a goal.
No, it wasn't. Mane went right through the back of Ogbonna. It was definitely a foul. I think once the VAR room told him to go have a look at it, and Kevin Friend went and looked and saw the challenge from Mane. I mean, there would have been absolutely no way he could have justified allowing that goal to stand in the circumstances. You cannot slide through the back of someone like that.
No.
So thankfully, the right decision was made there, but because they had no choice, really. I mean, if the VAR room had ignored that one as well, I think it really would have caused controversy. Soft penalties don't cause as much.
Yeah, because everyone knows it's to be expected.
Because there was contact.
Yeah, it's a part.
And people say, soft penalty, but they tend to kind of brush those off a bit more easily because that's just the way of the game now. I mean, but it shouldn't be. Like I say, contact does not equal foul.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. But like I said, I was very surprised that a VAR decision actually went our way for once. It was also nice though to see the referee actually checking the pitch side monitor. I don't think I've seen that in one of our.
Should have happened on the penalty.
I agree with you on that one. Now would that have swayed him? Looking at it,
I don't know, but at least the referee can go and look.
Yeah.
And you've a chance at least. But for the VAR room to ignore it, given that the contact was absolutely in no way have caused him to go down the way he did. There was clearly the potential there that he's just thrown himself to the ground, which is exactly what he did. But let the referee kind of go and have a look. Like I would have thought that's a bit sketchy if I'm in the VAR room. I say, there's contact. Like you get a tap on, ask someone in your family, lift your foot up and ask them to give you a little tap on the sole of your shoe. Tell me if it sends you spinning, Chris.
No, I know the answer to that one. Well, knowing me, it probably would just because I have terrible balance, but that's neither here nor there.
Fair enough. But yeah, look, it's an unfortunate loss. We all hoped we could spring a surprise up there. Yeah, challenge flags would be great, wouldn't they?
Interesting introduction into the Premier League. Like you just see David Moyes on the side just chucking the red flag into the halfway line.
Yeah, that's if he would even use them.
That's true. But one other bit of good news, though, that we can talk about, although we didn't get to see too much of him, Saeed Benrahma finally makes his debut for us. I didn't really get too much of an impression just because it was so short of time. The only
6 minutes.
The only real memorable thing is him just throwing or just completely screaming one out of bounds from about halfway.
Yeah, yeah. Look, obviously, great to finally see him in a West Ham shirt on the field, and obviously, like you say, 6 minutes. You know what was he going to do really? But yeah, great to see him in a West Ham shirt now, and it'll be interesting to see how much of him we see. As much as I love Pablo Fornals, you could make a very, very strong case for Benrahma to start against Fulham.
I agree.
You know, he would be, in my eyes, it wouldn't be dropping Fornals. He's done nothing wrong, Fornals. It would be purely a tactical decision. We will not be nearly as defensive against Fulham. They're a poor team, Chris. They're a genuinely poor team, Fulham.
Yeah.
We won't be nearly as defensive against Fulham. So I would love to see Benrahma start that game. It's ideal. If you want to give Benrahma his full debut, what better game than against Fulham? Not only are they looking horrible in the Premier League, conceding lots of goals, bottom of the table, must be very low on confidence, but he played against them 3 times last season.
That's true.
In the Championship. So he knows them. He knows their players. He already knows how to play against Fulham.
What's surprising?
So, ideal.
Fulham is not on the table. Actually, it's Burnley, only because Fulham has more goals. How is it? How are they?
Goal difference, is it?
Yeah, goals for. Yeah, that's the only reason that they're ahead of them. That's the only reason.
Anyway, look, but nonetheless, they're shite, and
yeah, very true.
You know, we need to be going there with a much more positive outlook, much more attacking, and get after them because they concede goals. So, you know, they are not good at defending. So I don't know how many they've conceded. So, what's their record? Do you have the table there?
Yes, I have the table.
How many have they conceded?
14. Joint
in
top.
8 games?
Actually, no. Guess who has the most goals allowed, actually? Liverpool.
Yeah, but there was 7 in one game. So
I'm surprised by that. So they're joint second in terms of most goals allowed with, who is it? West Brom.
What did you say, 14 goals?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, get after those boys. They cannot defend. They cannot defend. So, actually, yeah.
They have a game in hand, so they might. Who do they play? They play West Brom. So we'll find out who ends up having more goals.
Is that on now? Is that the late game?
Monday.
Oh, okay.
So got a few days. Oh, they actually have a shortened week then. That means they play Monday and Saturday. Good for us.
Yeah. That game's been moved for pay-per-view, by the way, if you can believe that.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah. I can't believe that as an American who watches the NFL and the NFL is on in markets here, I can't believe that domestically they're going to have to you guys have to pay for matches per match. Like that is baffling to me.
It's a pure money grab.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's absolute profiteering, and it's completely shameful. Completely shameful.
Really is.
Yeah, exactly, Wally. Yeah. Benrahma's going to want
question.
to get revenge.
Where would we put Benrahma? Wing in favor of Fornals or left wing back?
Oh, I'd put him in place of Fornals.
I would as well. I agree. I don't.
Yeah,
want
we need him in an advanced position. We need him to have that freedom to just get on the ball and attack.
Yeah.
The wing backs and the three centre backs can do the, and obviously we've got Souček and Rice in the centre. That's more than enough to deal with whatever Fulham are going to throw us in attack. So, we don't need, fucking Benrahma wing back trying to help out the centre backs. We need Benrahma in Fornell's position where he can just get after them.
Yeah.
He can stay more advanced up the pitch, look for the pass, and then turn and go. So yeah, I'd play him in Fornell's position. We don't need him to be doing. We really don't need him to be doing much by way of defensive duties.
Yeah.
We won't need to anyway because we'll have a lot of the ball. I think in the Fulham game, I think the vast majority of the play will be in that middle third.
Yeah.
It won't be in our defensive third like it was last week and this week because we're playing such good opposition who we can't get the fucking ball off of. It will all be played in the middle third, the majority of that game next week. So when Benrahma does get the ball, his only job is to attack.
Yeah. Well, that's all I really had thoughts on the match. Do you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, obviously, look, no surprise that we lost it. Just disappointed that Moyes wasn't more proactive with his substitutions. It's the same old tune, but that's the thing that really disappointed me tonight. He could have changed it up much sooner and given us a chance on the counter attack to try and punish Liverpool when they really went for it to try and go for the win. So. And again, it was just really uninspiring. I hate watching us do nothing but defend. It's horrible to watch. Nothing exciting or thrilling about it. You're just basically sitting, hoping, beyond hope that you can just cling on and hold out like we did against City last week.
Yeah.
So uninspiring. Really glad that's out of the way. But we have a run of games coming now where we can be much more positive. Where we can do much more attacking, which hopefully will be games which will be much better to watch. And hopefully, fingers crossed now, we can push on because like you say, Chris, we're kind of in bonus territory now because we all feared the worst with this run of games, that we would be in the relegation zone, that we would have very few points on the board. But we've done better than we expected, it has to be said. So we at least have a foundation now with these upcoming fixtures where we can push on. And we need to stamp our authority on those games. Next week against Fulham, I want us to stamp our authority on that game and say, we are better than you.
Yeah.
We're going to outplay you. We're going to attack you. We're going to score goals and we're going to win and we're going to take 3 points. We have to be positive next week because Fulham are poor. They just are. And we should be going out with a very positive attitude to get after them and go and win that game. And really, over the next number of games, our attitude should be much more positive as regards how we're set up. And we should be getting after these teams that we're going to play over the next few weeks. And let's try and really get as many points as possible in that period and push ourselves way up the table and really have a positive kind of outlook going into the second half of the season because it's there for us now. The way we've played in these last few games, very, very tough games against very good teams, it would be desperately depressing if we weren't to capitalize on that now.
Yeah. So, yeah, our next 3 matches are home to Fulham, away to Sheffield United following the international break, home to Villa, home to Man United, and then away to Leeds. So those are our next 5 matches. Yeah. I can realistically see us getting at least 3 wins.
I'm not scared of any of those teams.
Man United are a bogey team because you never know what Man United is going to show up. Is it going to be like world beater United, or is it going to be?
Yeah, fair enough. You know, United can be obviously extremely good on their day, but I'm still not scared of them.
Yeah,
They're coming to our place too, by the way. It's a home game for us, so I will be optimistic going into that game
yeah.
that we can get at least a point out of that.
But yeah, so listen, the next match, obviously, as we've been talking about, is home to Fulham next Saturday. So unless things change, we will be right back here. Thank you, as always, Tommy, for joining me on the post-match show. Thank you for everyone joining us in the chat room. And until next time, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.